It was just an accident. Famous last words. If you're not familiar with Iranian director Jafar Panahi, he is a true, literal hero of cinema. No, literally, this guy has been jailed for making films in his home country. And through the persecution and incarceration, he has held steadfast and made films for over 30 years now. He's mastered so many forms: drama, comedy, documentary, mockumentary, and now he's kind of made his first thriller. The Palme d'Or winning It Was Just an Accident represents Panahi at a new stage of his career. But he still made this film in secrecy under the shadow of an oppressive regime. And that makes what he accomplishes here so miraculous. But if you've seen any of Panahi's films, you know that miraculous cinema is just kind of what he does nowadays. But It Was Just an Accident is not an accomplishment simply because it was made. It's a genuinely harrowing and funny film about a country's reckoning, well, with itself. The film opens with an amazing wonder of a family driving home in the dark, and then the car breaks down altogether. So the patriarch Egbal asks for help at a nearby mechanic shop owned by Vahid. Vahid recognizes something instantly. There's a particular squeak when he walks because he has a prosthetic leg, and this triggers a trauma response in Vahid, who abducts Egbal thinking that he was his torturer 5 years before. You see, Vahid was kidnapped on false charges and tortured by the Iranian regime. And now he is convinced he has his torturer in the trunk of his van. But Vahid and the other victims were blindfolded when this occurred, so he's not 100% sure if he has his man. Thus, he goes to a few other victims he knows: Shiva, a photographer who's taking photos of a newlywed couple, where the bride was once imprisoned also, and Hamid, a wild card who wants to kill the man instantly. But revenge is not that simple, and Vahid and these strangers will have to plunge back into their memories and their pain and make the choice of whether or not to take their revenge once and for all. Yes, this is a Palme d'Or winner about a nation's collective nightmare. It also happens to be a genuinely funny examination of a nation's collective nightmare, because as Vahid and these disparate characters come together to argue over what to do with this guy locked in his trunk, well, it's actually kind of a comedy of errors. You have so many clashing personalities and terrible suggestions on what to be done, not to mention the doubt on if this guy is actually the guy they think he is, that it becomes kind of madcap in this situation. Because let's be honest, not many of us would know how to gracefully kidnap our torturer and then exact bloody revenge. But the movie never strays far from the reality of this situation. All of these people have been irrevocably fucked up. These people, by virtue of who they are, or just their descent, or just the wrong place in the wrong time, they had pieces of their lives taken from them. Do they just want to be so right about this man that it's changing their memories? This is Panahi playing with so many genres at once: mystery, thriller, comedy, and pure drama. And Panahi is ultimately a humanist, so each character, no matter how irrational, no matter how erratic, no matter how emotional, is all coming from a genuine and painful place. And that means we as an audience experience so many emotions all at once. We laugh and we cringe and we shed tears, and we have our own doubts. Because remember, the movie opens with Egbal with his family, his wife next to him, and his little girl in the back seat. And we think he's just an ordinary guy. Or is he? And that doubt carries us all the way to the end. And the end, which descends into its most harrowing single take shot, well, this might be the most controversial part, because art house crowds who thrive on ambiguity might feel cheated that this movie decides to give us answers. The ending invites further reflection from us. Panahi is not the type of filmmaker to give us easy platitudes, like, oh, if you want to get revenge, dig two graves, or don't do unto a monster what he did unto you, lest you become a monster. No. The people of Iran have suffered so much. Panahi has suffered so much. But he also recognizes that violence is not always inherent in people. Systems bring out violence. Systems create monsters. And the question becomes, if you do the same thing, are you just another monster of the system? But at the same time, justice and accountability are non-existent in the society. So how do you get justice? How do you get revenge? And how do you stay a whole person? And those are the complications that It Was Just an Accident ultimately leaves you with, especially in the film's final haunting shot, which might be the best shot of the year. This final shot is where the ambiguity actually is. But outside of all that, outside of what this film represents, it's just a damn good drama and thriller with unbelievable technical restraint and technical prowess from Panahi. This is his best looking film, his most polished film, his most technically accomplished. There are single take shots in here that take your breath away, not because they show off, but because they require so much from the actors. And the actors, especially Vahid Mobaseri as Vahid and Miriam Ashfari as Shiva, are extraordinary in the range of pain and doubt that they carry throughout the entire film. Panahi had to make and finish this with help from the country of France, but you can tell he's a filmmaker who loves his country, who wants to make films there. And with this one, he's ultimately telling a story about how much wrong a country can do to its people, but how broken people can still love where they're from and still struggle to find peace and clarity on what's been done to them. It Was Just an Accident is a harrowing, but also funny, deeply human experience. It represents director Jafar Panahi at the peak of his powers. He is a special filmmaker, and if you haven't delved into his films, see this one and then work your way backwards, because his movies represent some of the purest cinema you'll see in the entire world. I give It Was Just an Accident an essential 4.5 stars out of 5. If you like this review, please like and subscribe or follow me on Letterboxd at RamirezS316. Man, could you imagine being persecuted in your own country for the art you make? Wow, I'm so glad no one's being persecuted in this country for their opinions.